We wish you a Merry Wizards of the Coast Christmas. We wish you a Merry Wizards of the Coast Christmas. We wish you a Merry Wizards of the Coast Christmas and a Happy New Game. I warned you. What's up, nerds? It's 8 o'clock in the morning on the dot here, the second day of December 2023, broadcasting live from a small island off the coast of Costa Rica where we celebrate Christmas. Never! Bah, humbug. It is bright and sunny this second day of December, and we now have maybe the release dates for the 2024 books and a list of what may or may not be coming out in 2024. Now, why am I saying this? Because when this announcement went up yesterday, the first time, there was a date. It was on Instagram. That was the first place anybody spotted it. And then Wizards took that down, put it back up, and there wasn't a date. So, and then at 10 o'clock, around 10 o'clock last night, Wizards took the one with no date down and put back up this, which now tells us that the tentative date for the Player's Handbook for 2024 is 5/21/2024. And there's already several comments going that can't be right. So take this with a grain of salt. It was put up on Friday at 10 p.m. So this may or may not be the release date for the 2024 Player's Handbook. We also have some release dates for some other things coming on. Now, I don't know where this was found. Obviously, I'm going to ENWorld. Thank you, as always, ENWorld. Somebody on Twitter told me about this. Who was it? JR Games. Let's give the guy a free shout out. Hold on. I gotta go to Twitter real quick. Yeah, Twitter. Okay, so yeah. Jeff's Gamebox texted me yesterday around 1 p.m. And then it went down, and then it came back up at 3 p.m. with no dates, and then went back down, and then came back up 10 p.m. with dates again. So thanks, Jeff's Gamebox. Shout out to Jeff's Gamebox for letting me know about this. Obviously, I went to the same place I always get my news from the first thing in the morning, which is ENWorld. I then went to the Wizards of the Coast webpage, which has not been updated since the Dungeons and Dragons movies came out. So Wizards of the Coast official webpage has pretty much been abandoned. No links to this information. So where would you think you would find these dates? Because they're so important. Well, obviously, you'd think D&D Beyond. So I went to D&D Beyond as of 8 o'clock this morning. No, not a single link to this calendar. Instead, they're advertising a third-party video game that they're working with Ghostfire Gaming. So I guess D&D Beyond is working with Ghostfire Gaming to make a adventure for the Grim Hollow video game. Now, I don't even know what that means, because it says D&D Beyond. It doesn't say Wizards of the Coast is working with Ghostfire Gaming. That's a whole separate mystery that we'll need to unpack later. Maybe now it's D&D Beyond is now considering itself a separate entity from D&D Studios, which is considering itself a separate entity from Wizards of the Coast. This changes on a daily basis based upon the whims of, I don't know, manatees. Remember that South Park where it was just the manatees picking up balls with ideas on them, and that was how they chose what the I don't remember. It was a joke about Family Guy, but yeah, whatever. So I don't know if it's news. Why would the number one story on D&D Beyond talking about a third-party video game that you're working with for an expansion, a video game nobody's heard of, Grim Hollow? You would think, oh yeah, and the D&D Advent calendar, but you would think these dates would be pretty important, and Wizards of the Coast would make them easy to find and probably advertising the fuck out of them, but they're not. So I don't know where EN Publishing got these. ENWorld published these at 10 o'clock last night, which means they will probably change. Okay, so we have a tentative release date for the 2024 core rulebook, 5/21/2024. Just assume that's a lie. we have Vecna. This is the one that was supposed to be the year-long story arc that explained everything. It's called Vecna, Eve of Ruin. It's also coming out at 5/21/2024. I doubt that's true. That was posted at 10 o'clock last night. This is the multiverse-spanning adventure which goes up to level 20 and features cameos from famous D&D characters, including Venger, apparently. So this is supposed to be the huge year-long thingy. We'll see if that's true or not. Then they also announced Quest for the Infinite Staircase. This is the ones one of the ones Perkins hinted at. This is coming out 7/16/2024, and it's going to be an adventure collection with updated versions of classic adventures. So if you remember the Howl of the Yawning Portal, that was one of the first supplement books for 5e. It had a whole bunch of updates of classic adventures like White Plume Mountain, Tomb of Horrors, blah, 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 against the Giants. Some of those they revisited in larger versions, like they did the 5e version of Against the Giants, and then they released Storm King's Thunder, which is a more of a, extensive take on Against the Giants. Storm King's Thunder, probably my second favorite Wizards of the Coast 5e product. My first, of course, being Tomb of Annihilation. I mean, it doesn't have to be the base. We know the best is Phandelver, but my favorite is Tomb of Annihilation. So this will be a collection of classic updated versions of adventures. But I don't know what that means, because there is no classic anymore, because there is no canon, and nothing before 2014 exists, according to Crawford. So is it could just be updated versions of classic 5e adventures? We don't know. And again, these dates mean nothing because they've already changed once. We've got a making of book coming in June 2024, 6/18/2024. We have something called the Making of D&D book, which I guess will finally acknowledge the history of D&D, which makes no sense because Wizards of the Coast refuses to acknowledge the history of D&D. So we'll see what that is. Remember Vin Diesel was working on something, and we know Joe Dragonlance Joe is working on a project for the history of D&D. So this may or may not happen. Wizards might finally realize that they need to recapture some of the classic D&D fan base in order to continue going, because they're losing the 5e fan base. Again, I don't know. And finally, they announced a single session D&D event based upon Lost Caverns of Tasso Janus. Short adventures meant for single game sessions. So Lost Caverns of Tasso Janus, one of the classic Gary Gygax AD&D adventures that was a tournament adventure. It had a wilderness journey, the classic 2-level dungeon, the face-off with the vampire. And this was announced at PAX. So yes, the classic multi-level, multi-part adventure now boiled down to a one-shot, but then it was always supposed to be a one-shot, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. I know a lot of other people are going to be like, how dare you, but Tasso Janus was a tournament module, just like Tomb of Horrors. It was supposed to be run in one shot, so I'm not upset about that. I've been through Tasso Janus twice, and it can't be run in one shot, but it was designed to be one shot originally. I played a 5e version of Tasso Janus, and I played, the original Tasso Janus, and it usually takes 3 or 4 sessions to go through. So I don't know what that means, but I guess it's their way of nodding to the history by making cheap throw-off one-shots of classics. Now, is this going to be what's in the staircase? Is these one-shot nods to classics, or are they going to be separate? Don't know. No. Very little information, but we do have a date, and that date is 2024 May, maybe May. I don't know. No, it can't be AI art. Wizards swears they don't use AI art. Well, they use AI art until they're caught, and then they say they don't use AI art. It was an accident. Somebody missed that. We're going to change it. And then they'll keep using AI art until they get caught, and at which point they'll say, oh, no, we don't use AI art. That was a mistake. I guess the person who was supposed to catch that did it. So, yeah, probably is AI art, and they're just going to pull the same thing. But good eye on you, DM Kurt. Better eye than I do. So, yeah, news. I don't know where these news posts come from because I couldn't find them. I went to the Wizards of the Coast Instagram, not there. I went to the Dungeons & Dragons Instagram, not there. I went to the Wizards of the Coast website, hasn't been updated since the movie came out. Went to D&D Beyond, not there. You would think these are slightly important and Wizards might want them to be easily accessible, but I guess they're waiting to see what we do. I mean, we do their job for them so they don't have to, right? You know, and since they've already changed the dates at least once yesterday, they might change again. Speaking of Wizards of the Coast, so did you hear that apparently our old friend is very upset at the people who are upset at Wizards of the Coast and for not living up to their promises and telling us how dare we complain about Wizards of the Coast unless we've actually done something, we can't talk about it. Well, I would love to tell our old friend, you haven't done shit, dude, so you really can't talk about any of the things you talk about. But I have done these things. I have done everything on Gygax's list to make me an elite dungeon master. I am published. I have worked for Wizards of the Coast. So I am allowed to bag on them when they don't live up to their promises and blatantly lie to our face and tell us that we need to think a specific way and refuse to acknowledge the wonderful history. Oh, Kat says it's coming from the PAX panel is where these dates are coming from. Okay, well, I guess we'll watch that. And these are going to change anyways. I mean, the Deck of Many Things is obviously proof that they're going to change the dates, right? They're, you can't keep claiming, oh, we can't make it. The printer can't live up to it. The ink doesn't work. First off, there's people out there who have physical copies of it. Second off, you've been making cards for 30 years. It shouldn't be a problem for you to make new cards. So I believe, that any of these dates are going to be the same as the dates you see on for the cards. I mean, the dates are obviously for the digital version anyways. Physical version dates will be based upon pre-sales. When they have enough pre-sales to make it worth their while, then you'll see them shipped, which is what I'm 80% sure is going on with the Deck of Many Things. 10% of that, of course, being the bad will that Mackenzie drummed up for them. It's like, it exists. We know it exists. You've seen it. There's people who have shown it to you on videos, so we know the physical cards exist. I think Wizards is just waiting for enough money to be in the coffers for them to make it worthwhile to them to ship the physical. And if they don't reach that goal, well, then they can further fulfill their self-fulfilling prophecy that people only want digital, physical doesn't sell, and then they can just keep delaying it ad infinitum. Or they could just even cancel it and just keep their monies back. All right, so yeah. Now I'm not going to play 5e. 2024. I don't need to. I've been told by Crawford I don't need to. So if I go to a game in 2024, all I would need is my 5e stuff I already have, right? I can't talk about it because I've never done anything. What a bunch of bullshit. And I guess now we got to talk about the Goodman Games thing. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Gonna go grab a coffee and dive into the next bit of news. I was hoping today would be a non-news day, and we could just read through some of Castle Zagzig's some more. See ya.